Hello again. It's really nice to see all of you. I see some friends from many years, some new friends. It's always a joy to visit here and to see such wonderful souls and devotees. As you know, I travel quite a bit. I've been around. I came back from the US about just 3 weeks ago. And here, when I came back, I went to Singapore 2 weekends ago. Last weekend I was in Pune, now here. And it's a blessing for me to see the devotees everywhere. And of course I served in America, I served in Italy, and went around Europe quite a bit for 7 years. I went to Africa for Ananda, 3 African countries. I went to Australia, and I stayed there for a few months. And now I've been in India, believe it or not, 12 years practically. And so my life has been sharing these teachings with others, as it is Roman Haridas Ji's life too. And I've been able to see really thousands of people, and meet thousands of people, and help thousands of people, and be helped by thousands of people everywhere. And as I've been going around, I've seen the needs, what people have talked about, what they have longed for, what they wanted. And everyone talks about the fact that they want to keep their life in attunement with God. That it's not easy to live in the cities, to live amongst in your job, people that you're working with, to live maybe in the traffic going by, to live with the barking dogs or whatever, but to live in an intense situation is not easy for a devotee. You look at Master's life, he lived in intense situations his whole life. He lived in India, then he went to America. People think his life was easy. His life was not easy. And Swamiji's life, if you look at his life, just all the way through, he was constantly busy. He was founding centers around the world. He was writing music, he was traveling. He taught probably millions of people meditation and these techniques. And so in our particular line, it hasn't been easy sit by the Ganges River existence or roaming up in the Himalayas, but it's the life our Guru gave us. People complain. Master gave us a particular life, and he also gave us the way to live that life. He taught us how we could live in the midst of this. And I've thought often, but most recently, why is our life so intense? Mine certainly is intense, and I'm sure most of you would raise your hand to say your life is intense. And I had some thoughts about it. And first of all, I think it's intense because we're burning up a lot of karma in one lifetime. Now you can say, I'd rather stay for hundreds more lifetimes and just don't make it so intense, but I for one, would prefer to get it done. So one reason it's intense is we're living many lifetimes in one. The second reason it's intense is that Master told Swamiji his life would be intense activity, and he put meditation second. Intense activity and meditation. And so Master gave that life to Swamiji, and we're Swamiji's children, so I don't know why we would expect our life to be different than Swamiji's life. Also, we're living in trying times. It's times of turmoil, it's times of war. But keep in your mind, you chose this lifetime. It's not like, how did I end up here? You chose to come now for your karma, for what would be offered. Master set it up for us that if we would come now, we would have places like this to come to, we would have Guru Bhais, we would have Swamiji to guide us, we would have as many techniques as we needed to be able to practice, to be in tune. We would have all the books we wanted to read on yoga. We would have this wonderful music that Swamiji has written that's healing, that's uplifting. We would have chanting. We would have wonderful saint-like souls to live with in this life. And so we chose to come and be here together and granted, trying hard times, but granted also, no different than our gurus, I'm saying, and no different than Swamiji. So I would say that it's a rare birth and a priceless birth when you come at this time. The final reason why our life is intense, in my mind at least, I'm sure you can come up with a lot of reasons, is that Master, he gave us this life. But Guru gives you a ticket. You don't dissect it and take it apart, and I don't want this part, I just want the blissful part. So the last part is we are actually doing what our Guru taught us to do. It's very simple. He said, live it, here's the life, here's what you do. And that's what we're attempting to do at least. And so Master knew we would have an intense life. He set it up. We said, yes, I'll come and live the intense life. He said, I'll help you get through. I'll give you all these things and you'll be able to get through. I'll even take your hand. I'll walk with you. We can make it work together. And you will be free. And we said, I'm in. And so now that we've gotten in, we say, is there a back door? Can I change my mind? And the answer is, you can. But it's unbecoming of a disciple of Yoganandaji, for sure. It's unbecoming to say, it's too hard. I'm tired. I don't want to do it. Just let me rest. Like Krishna with Arjuna, it was unbecoming of Arjuna not to want to do what he had to do. And so, what's the choice? We don't want to be forgetting about this life and saying, I can't do it. So the choice is we need to up our energy, we need to stay in tune, we need to draw the Guru's help and his blessings, we need to do what he said to do to be able to be here, we need to help each other, we need to keep founding places like this where we can come to, and we need to serve and have satsang and all of those things. So we have a choice if we want the lower choice. But I tried that at one point, a lower choice. I had two ways to go. And there was so much pain in my heart. I felt Master's like, it's not what I want you to do. You know it. Even though the other way is harder, try it. And as I began to try the harder way, it was so beautiful. Many doors opened because of Guruji's grace. When I tried to go the other way, pain and suffering came. And I knew that is not what my soul wants. And so we make the choice every day. Do I want the higher road? Am I going to go the lower road? Am I going to go the higher road of doing more kriyas, doing more practices, coming to the satsang, coming to kriya, doing yoga, getting a harmonium, learning the chants, reading the books? Am I going to go the lower road? Oh, it's too much for me. Oh, I don't feel like doing it. Oh, why do they have you do this? Why do you have to do that? Well, at this point, I feel, maybe you all feel, but I've been on the path for some decades now, and I have felt just recently that it has been like climbing up a high mountain like Everest, Meru, climbing up one of the high mountains, and it's been a struggle. You know, 1 foot at a time climbing up. It's been joyful underneath it all, but it's been a struggle. And many times trying to make it up, slipping down and getting cold and getting frostbite, and you can think of all the things that happen on the mountain on the trek. But I felt recently, and I don't know if you all have felt this, maybe it's personal, I don't know, but I have felt that I'm going down the other side now of the mountain. You go up and you go down. When you get down, you're finished. So it's been a climb. And with Swamiji's help, and Master and all the Guru's help, it feels like we've been climbing, trying to make it up, and we just about or have reached the top. But as I read climbing books, some great books on mountain climbing, you have to get back down. You can't, the completion is when you come down. And I have this feeling in my heart that now we're starting the descent. The descent. The descent is not easy, but it could be easier than the other. The descent has to happen as well. And I feel like Swamiji, when he passed away, in 2013, we all, if you feel you're new or not, we have the bond with Swamiji, like we have the bond with Master from who knows how many lifetimes. And I feel like we're Swamiji's children. And when a father passes away, parents pass away, what do they leave? The inheritance, isn't it? For the children. So the children don't have to suffer so much or work so hard or whatever it is. They leave property, they leave money, whatever. And Swamiji, being our spiritual father, he left the spiritual inheritance. Now what is the spiritual inheritance? The absolutely incredible good karma that Swamiji had. The good karma that he had in doing Kriya. The good karma that he had in doing centers like this, the good karma that he had in meeting people and making things happen and all the things in his life, he gave a spiritual inheritance. But you can't receive it unless you're open to receiving that inheritance. And it's such a subtle point, because I've heard people say, oh, I feel Swamiji's presence, oh, I feel it. And I certainly have felt Swamiji's presence, but he gave more than a presence. He gave his spiritual inheritance to spread around to his children. And you decide if you're his child or not. It's up to you. But I'm one. I want what he has to give. Maybe it's more wisdom. Maybe it's being able to understand the teachings better. It's being able to meditate better. Maybe you can be in seclusion, in silence, without having a struggle. Maybe your life is running better. Maybe your children's life is running better. But no great saint, sage, or master leaves here with nothing, leaving nothing, none. They all leave for the disciples. And so, how do we receive that? Inheritance is the question. And how do we receive our Guru's grace? And how do we stay in tune? And how do we tune the dial? It's like a camera. When you used to focus the camera on a radio station, you have to get on the station, or you just hear the static. This is our question. How do we do it? And over the years of Kriya, I came up with some thoughts to share with you of how you might try it yourself. But there are two particular ways that Master gave to stay in tune. One, he said, to be in tune with me, serve my work. Now he's not interesting. He didn't say to be in tune with me, do Kriya or do Hangsa or do Om. He said, serve my work. So this is, it's not if you feel like it, if you have the time, if you have, the ability. He said to be in tune, serve my work. It's very simple. Meditation helps your work, work helps your meditation, service helps your meditation. And then the channel, this is the important part, the channel, like if you're serving, the channel is blessed by what's flowing through it. So as I speak today, I'm getting the blessings. I mean, I hope you get the blessings, but I'm certainly getting the blessings. If someone's leading the chanting, they're getting the blessings. Someone's leading the yoga posture, someone's setting up the hall, someone's getting the cushions down or whatever. You can't help but feel blessings flowing through you. And you don't feel tired. You feel more and more, what I feel is more and more happy. More and more energy, but also more and more happy. Because the Guru's energy is flowing through the disciple. And it's like stagnant water otherwise. I don't know if you've seen this, but if water's not flowing, there's no fresh water coming in, it's just sitting. Most people, their energy is just sitting. They're just like that, they're wondering, I'm tired, I'm depressed, I'm moody, and it's because there's no flow. The flow has to be constant. It has to be daily. I hope I'm not saying too much here, but it has to be daily. I just think if I don't serve my Guru's work, I don't feel good. I just don't feel good. If I don't do something every day, call somebody or go over and put flowers on the altar, or go over and set up the pillows or something. And you know, in ancient India, the disciples went to the guru every day. We have to be going inwardly every day. How can I serve? What can I do? Should I help you here? How can I do this? And in attunement, not just serving frantically. I mean, some people serve frantically, but I used to serve frantically. But I learned that doesn't work. So serving calmly, happily, joyfully, in attunement, that it just comes to you. And I remember a man who came to the Expanding Light at Ananda Village, and he was the husband of one of our Kriya yogis, Kriya Bonds. She was a dedicated person, had her own meditation group in the Bay Area. So she wanted to come, Catherine Strand, so she wanted to come to Ananda. So he said, okay, I'll bring you. So he, you know, begrudgingly, he would bring her there. And he would stay for the weekend, or whatever the class was in the program, he would stay there. And so that went on for some years, shall I say. So he would bring her, and he said, but, you know, and I was there at the time, and every time he, you know, I would be around Expanding Light, and he would say to me, because I knew him and her, he would say, I'm only here for my wife. And I said, great. Why is he telling me? I said, I'm not here for myself. I'm only here because she wanted to come. I brought her. I said, oh, that's just nice, so nice of you. So every time he would come, he would, you know, I'd typically be around the, I'm here for my wife. So he was basically saying, don't teach me anything. And I said, what are you asking me about? You know, so that went on for quite some time. And then finally, after, it was some years, I have to say, after some years, he came once, and I noticed he looked a little different. And so, you know, of course, I was around, I was helping with the classes and everything, and he came to me and he just said, very kind of quiet, he says, Dhyana, today I'm taking discipleship. And I said, no, I thought you came for your wife. he said, I don't know what happened. But I feel this is my path now. Isn't that a beautiful story? He only was in the vibration. He was serving, and I forgot to tell you, he was an electrician. So every time he brought his wife, he was working on the wires at the Expanding Line, the guest house. He was always doing stuff, but he didn't want anything to do with the teachings. And then as he kept serving, you know, I think Master got a hold of him. And then he took discipleship, and he took Kriya. They became meditation group leaders. So completely different. Why? Service. He didn't want to hear one talk. He just served. And I remember when we came to Swamiji in the early years, I can tell you over all the years that I was at Ananda, I think you can add up the amount of time that Swamiji actually sat with me personally and gave me advice would equal about 10 or 15 minutes, and over 35 years as Swamiji. Isn't that incredible? 10 or 15 minutes, that, I mean 1 minute here, half a minute over there, no time over there. I mean, he didn't sit you down and say, this is your problem. You need to fix yourself. He just said, here, why don't you try doing this? Here, can you help me with the project? And you say, sure, you didn't know what was happening, but he was changing your consciousness because you were serving. It's a very, very important thing, and you find everything gets better. You get better. There's no more moods, there's no more... I'll tell you something that somebody said, which is a priceless thing. One of my dear friends, we were giving a lecture. It was actually here in India, and someone asked him, at the end of the lecture, which was on meditation, Kriya Yoga, this person asked, well, tell us, you know, you've been on this path for, he was on longer than I don't know, 45 years or whatever. And he said, tell us, what are your powers? And I'm like, glad you're not asking me. so it was just a wonderful moment. So he just stood there and he said, I don't really think I have any powers. And then the man was like, why is he up there? He doesn't have any powers. And so then he said, but wait, maybe I have one power. And then all ears, everybody. And he said, I have the power to be happy at will. Wow, I loved that answer. And I thought, how many people do you know who have the power to be happy at will? These are the real siddhis, right? Do you have the power to not be angry? Do you have the power to not be in a mood when you don't want to? Do you have the power not to be depressed? Do you have the power not to be emotional? No, you don't. Think of all the people you know. Do they have that power? They have the power. These are the real powers. And so as you're serving, as you're meditating, as you're on the path, I mean, when you look around, you see the real powers, I have to tell you that. And it's not levitation and walking on fire coals and walking on water. You have the power over yourself. Wow, what a fantastic answer. And I know the person well, and I know that it's true. I know that it's true. So, service is one. And the second thing Master gave was, I wanted to tell you another service story before I move on. That this, and you all remember, you would remember, you know, I'm just sort of speaking right now, but you all remember when we first came, speaking of service, and it was Jamal and what was his name? Dharmadas Ji and Haridas and various ones, Karpani, various ones of us, and we stayed at Neelamji's house. They opened up their whole house. It was sort of like base camp. We had computers all over. Everybody was working on the registrations and whatever. But I remember in those days, and you have to back me up on this, that basically we did everything. Neelamji helped us, but we didn't know anybody else here in Bangalore, isn't it? So we get to the hall and spruce up the hall, get the chairs, make sure the chairs were set up, and then we'd set up the book table, and then we'd set up the registration table, then we'd set up the altar, get the mic, get whatever, get the books out, had boxes and boxes of books, and I remember Haridas came to me once. I was on the registration table, and there were all these long names. Remember the beginning, such and such, Subramaniam, blah, 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 blah. Can you spell that for me? So, and there was lots of people, but wonderful, wonderful atmosphere. I remember Haridas, you may not remember, but you came up to me and said, Dhyana, Dharmadas, it's time to come and do the welcome now. And there was like 10 people deep at the registration table, and I said, I can't leave my post now. Look at all these people. So he left, and then he came back, and 5 minutes later he says, Dhyana, you got to go up there now and welcome the people. So, I mean, we went from one job to the other, so I took that hat off for the registration. I went up and welcomed the people. And then afterwards, we took everything, put it in the boxes, put it in the car. I mean, it was like we did everything. We were happy to do it. Now we're happy that there's help to do it. But those were the times. I remember Jaya was on a book table at one of these talks, and remember that? And I went over, he was giving the main talk. I went over and I said, Jaya, it's time for your talk. And he said, really? Look at the time there, get over there. He says, okay. He gave a brilliant talk, but he went from the book table to the stage. So I'm saying this, that if you're serving, Master gives you what you need. You can't say, I don't know books. I remember somebody said to me, one of these, this was in Gurgaon, which is, anyway, I won't say much more about it, but it was after a talk, and we had put everything out, and so there was a panel of speakers, and afterwards, we had to get out of the hall by 8 o'clock or something, so we were all packing the boxes, you remember that? And then this elderly gentleman came up to me, and he says, because I had just helped with the 4 or 5 people on the panel, and he says, no, Acharya-ji, I know you're not going to load those boxes. I said, just watch me. This was we were just here in India, there's nobody to help. We were all could see that service is joy. And through service you grow. And now in every center I've been to, there's a big team of people helping. There's not the one acharya who's trying to do everything. There's everybody's many hands making a miracle. It's a wonderful, wonderful way to help your meditation and to help your life. Secondly, the second thing is, I remember in 1982, because Ananda in America, the village was like, in the beginning, there were so many things to start up. And you can imagine Swamiji in his prime. And he had people doing all kinds of projects and, building things and doing books and publications and music and, retreats and yoga teacher training and just meditation teacher, whatever it was. People were just so busy. And I remember Swamiji in 1982, he started the first Kriya Ban retreat. And he said, we've gotten too outward. We need to balance back inside. He said, if you don't have this center, you can't be effective outwardly. He said, so I want us to start focusing more on our Kriya Yoga practice. Then we can do more. But if we keep going out, 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 we won't be able to do things in the right way and effectively. So we had our first Kriya retreat. Swamiji led it. He led the retreat, the renewal vows. He led the reviews. He did the Kriya. He did the Kriya preparation. He did whatever, questions and answers. Swamiji did everything. And from then on, we started having these regular times. Now, what does that mean? It means this. In the Bible, it says, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you. Now, I grew up in the Baptist church. They talked about that all the time. I never understood. I don't think anybody did. But I understood later in yoga, it means go inside first, meditate first, get centered first, get clear first, get focused first. Focus on the light first. Hear the Om first. Get in attunement with your gurus first. Then go about your day. Isn't that beautiful? Then go about your day. Then all these things will be added unto you in the right way. And then you go to work and you're more clear. When you talk to your spouse, there's more joy, there's not shouting. And then when you're doing your lessons, or you're going to school, or you have a talk, or whatever it is, it's coming from a center. We can't come from the surface. And I know Kriya Bans who live from the surface. It's not what Master wanted. He didn't want that. He said, meditate, meditate, meditate. And then from that inner bliss, from that inner centeredness, from that inner focus, from that inner concentration, from that inner attunement, you will know what to do. You will have the right energy. You won't be moody. You won't be angry. You won't be upset. You won't be emotional. You'll be centered. And then everything comes clearly, what you should do in your life. I remember a man came to me some time ago and he says, Dhyanaji, I said, my job is sending me somewhere else to another city and I don't know what to do. And I looked at him and I said, have you asked Master about this? Have you prayed about it? And he said, well, sort of. I said, listen, sort of doesn't work. You gotta really ask with clarity. Say to Master, I'd like to be here if it's right. I'm serving in the Gurgaon Center. If I can be here, I want to be here. Help me to be here. Do you think I should be here? Something. Don't just go, whatever. And I said, man, get busy. And he did. When Master went to America, do you remember how he prayed? He prayed, he said, until he felt his brain was going to split. And then the door opened and Babaji walked in and said, Divine Mother has heard your plea, go to America. But most people, they're just so haphazard or low energy. I don't know what it is, but deeply ask and the answers will come to you. So, service and then deepening your Kriya. Now this is what I want to say about deepening your Kriya. First thing, have longer meditations. Once a week, at least. No, I don't want anybody hiding in the back. So, once a week, Master said, it's not I'm saying, he said, have a longer meditation weekly. Now what does longer mean? Twice as long as you normally do? 2 hours? 3 hours? Whatever you can do effectively. And I recall that I used to go to the lake shrine in Los Angeles. I'm from Los Angeles. And when I first read that, now I didn't have Kriya and I didn't have the Om technique even, because I remember seeing those T-boards and I didn't know what that was. But I read, Master said, do it, and I went to the 3-hour Friday night meditations for a long time. And I wasn't, well I said that because I wasn't a good meditator. I used to sort of fast on that day. I drove through the LA traffic for at least an hour and I got myself in a seat at the temple. And I tried my best to meditate. And I did it every week. Because he said to do it, I did it every week. And then at a certain point I remember I made a breakthrough. Now what was the breakthrough? It wasn't Divine Mother came to me or Master came. It meant I could sit without a whole lot of restlessness. That was such a gift. I was so happy to have that gift. But I earned it. It wasn't like I said, give me the gift. He said, you earned it. And I remember from then on, I could sit as long as I want. Calm, happy, centered. And that's what comes from longer meditations. And I'm seeing people here who have been here with us for a while. Half hour, 45 minutes. Unless you're in a bliss state, you've got to start increasing that time and doing longer. We just had a Kriyaban retreat in Pune. We'll have it annually. I'll say more about that in a little while. But let me tell you, those people were happy. And it rained the whole time. Nobody cared. There were just people walking around just in the bliss state. Because long meditations, long Kriya reviews, everything was diving deeper and deeper into Kriya. So once a week. And the other thing I did was on Saturday mornings. So I went from Friday night to Saturday morning. Here, honestly, I was restless as ever. But even Master, remember he was so restless? His guru kept calling him that day. He was restless when Swami Sri Teswarji gave him samadhi. You know the story. He's like, Master was watching your heart. He's not watching how restless you are. He's like, where's your heart? So Saturday mornings, I gave that time to Master. From the time I woke up to noon. Typically it was like 6 or 6:30 to 12 o'clock. And believe me, I could not meditate that long. So I had a harmonium, so I played chants, I had my Raj Yoga book, I opened my eyes, I read some of Raj Yoga, then I meditate, then I do an affirmation, then I meditate, then I put on Swamiji's music or whatever, then I meditate, Granted, I wasn't sitting still for that long, but at least I did it. And I told myself I would do it. And here again, as I did it, I felt Master's presence. You know the story of Shivananda, Shivanandaji had a disciple, a woman disciple, and he told her every morning get up at 4 o'clock and meditate. Now when I used to hear that story from Swamiji, I said, my God, 4 o'clock, why? Since I've been in India, now I know why it's 4 o'clock. It's cool and it's not noisy. She would get up, so she would hear his wooden sandals coming up her walk and up the steps to her door every day. And then, you know, she's, oh, my guru's here, I get up. And the knock, and then she'd get up. 4. And every day, you know, he helped her, he kept coming, and then she would get up. And she'd get up. And then after a while, she said, I don't want to get up. So she didn't get up. So he came the next day, and she didn't get up. Yeah, a year I'm going. She didn't get up, she didn't get up. So he stopped coming. Divine Mother comes if you're up. She's always up. They're always up. But if we say, I'd rather sleep, I remember I mean, this is not a personal story. It's sort of personal, but it's not. Early on the path, I had one dream where I saw the face of Master. And I was just so happy I saw his face. It was like I was just new on the path. But the interesting part was, it's personal and impersonal. Interesting part was I saw his face, and then it was like he was saying, I have something for you. But you're sleeping. But you're sleeping. And I woke up and I realized, I've been sleeping my life away. I've been sleeping. Think about it. You want to sleep? Come back many lifetimes of sleep? Or are you ready to get up? Get up. Set the time. Swamiji said, put your alarm clock on the other side of the room. Set. And then when it goes off, you have to get up and you got to go get it. To turn it off. Do whatever. But, I mean, challenge yourself. So longer meditations once a week. That's a set. Second thing, go to Kriya. Now we're having Kriya here tomorrow. Not here, but nearby tomorrow. And I love Kriya. I mean, here's a thought. Some little group just went to Babaji's cave. You all have been. And they brought me back a rock from Babaji's cave. I love it. Just very special. And then I went to Master's home with Jyotish and Deviji just a few months back when they were here. And Somnathji and Saritaji gave us a part of a brick from the roof of the house. So half went to America and half was staying in India. And then when I came back from the US, I brought 24 of the Murtis back, of the masters from there, for the members here, me and Neha both. Now let me ask you this. Do those things that I just mentioned, do they have a little power behind them? But what's going to really ignite them? I hold that rock every day when I meditate. Because I'm putting my love and my devotion, I'm putting energy into it. I love Babaji, I'm chanting to Babaji. You know, those murtis, I can just pass them out to the members and they'll put in the closet and nothing will happen. But every person, you know, Swamiji said, a murti comes to life when you put your devotion, your love into it. Everything that I mentioned has to have your love and devotion behind it. Kriya is like that. Kriya is a seed. Master gives it to you at the initiation. And I've seen some people just go, oh, and just closet it for a long time. Nothing ever happens. They don't water the seed doesn't get any sunshine. It's just sitting over there in the closet. Then there's other people who take that seed and they just pour their heart into it. Kriya. They pour their devotion, they pour their love into it. This is how we have to have it. And Master he knew us inside and out, let's put it this way. But he made the Kriya ceremony so beautiful so that we know how special that seed is. He didn't just, okay, here's the Kriya, do it. So we go to Kriya and we have the fire ceremony. We burn up all our past, and then we have the offerings. We go up to the altar, then we have the blessing. Then we have the Babaji drink, where Babaji's giving us, we're showered with rose petals. We back out of the altar, out of the temple, not turning our back. It's such a beautiful ceremony, so we realize how important that seed is and what a blessing it is to have it. I went to Kriya when I did the Kriya Sangha in America with others. For 14 years I was helping with that. And Swamiji said, when I started there, he says, Dhyana, have Kriya every month. Now before that, we never had Kriya every month. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times a year. I said, sure, Swamiji. So that meant all the new people I gather them, and we all go to Kriya every month. I have to tell you something funny before I go on. One person, thank God he wasn't a new person, but somebody found, he was at least trying to go to the Kriya. Somebody found him in the car with the baseball game on at one of the Kriyas. one of the ushers found him in the car. And I asked him later, why were you listening to the baseball game during the Kriya? So it's not that, it's actually coming in and absorbing yourself in the Kriya. I went 14 years every month to Kriya. You can multiply that. That's a lot of Kriya. So I sat there and I heard Jayaji, I heard Jyotishji, I heard Vidurji, I heard Anandaji, and I was saying this story last weekend, and then I said, and I loved it, because I got something out of it every time. I wasn't looking at my watch saying, what time is he going to finish? And Jaya said, yes, she was, because he would go on and on. But I enjoyed being there, and every time I went, I was growing. Isn't that beautiful? Every time I went, I was burning up karma. Every time I went, Master was blessing me more, Babaji was blessing me. Get in the room when there's Kriya. Don't go watching a movie or go out to dinner. If it says Kriya, be there. Second thing. Third, the satsang. This is satsang. When I came to Ananda, I was a Kriyaban already through SRF YSS. And I wasn't doing anything with Kriya. I didn't know. I hardly knew what it was about. As soon as I got to Ananda, and I was with those saintly people, and seeing the energy they had behind Kriya, they were meditating long hours. I was meditating 10, 15 minutes if I could. They were energizing twice a day. I was barely energizing. I remember Swamiji looked at me once and said, do you energize? And I said, well, he said, you just gotta do it. You just got to energize. And anyway, so finally, I'll have to wrap up, but you understand, I finally was, once I got in that satsang, I was able to get my kriyas going. I was in good company, so satsang is vitally important. And finally, I'll say, realize that it works. All of them said it works. All of them practice Kriya or something similar. Swamiji said it works. You know, and Swamiji at the end of his life, he could barely do Kriya, really. But he was already in God. One of our friends, Durga, went to Swamiji, some years before his passing, and she went for counseling. So she said, what she wanted to ask, she said, Swamiji, I'm having trouble with my Kriyas, my meditation. And Swamiji's answer, he just says to love it, he just said, I am too. Like, sit down and talk about it. I am too. But the thing was, he kept on going till he just finished it off. So it's not even that you're great at it or whatever, you just keep on going, you just finish it off. And realize that Master is behind it. Remember he said to Dr. Lewis, to Rajasi, never forget where your power is coming from. 75% is God and Guru's help. 25% is us doing Kriya. And Swamiji told Swamiji to do something to change himself. Master did. Swamiji felt, after a while he changed. And then he heard Master told some disciples, look how I have changed Walter. So don't worry. Just do it. Do it with love, do it with devotion, do it with your group eyes, and do it with joy. And there was a close with a beautiful story of his name was the Bronze Buckaroo, Herb Jeffries. So he was a very, you know who he was? He was a very well-known singer in Hollywood during Swamiji's time. And he was a Kriyaban, disciple of Master. So he met Master, and he said, all I ever hear when I go to religious groups is, what you can't do. You can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. He says, I want to know, what can you do? And Master looked at him, and Herb Jeffries was a very dignified, tall, very handsome. He was like a Bollywood star. He was Hollywood all the way, the wavy hair, and he always dressed very beautifully, very tall, and Swamiji gave him Kriya. I believe he himself gave him Kriya and counseled him. So he said, I want to know, what can you do? So Master said, well, do you enjoy drinking alcohol? He said, yeah. So Master said, you may continue. He said, do you enjoy smoking? He said, yeah, I enjoy it. He said, well, you may continue that. Master said, do you enjoy being with the opposite sex? He says, yeah. Master said, you can continue. So Herb Jeffries was like, what? This is easy. Master said, but I'm going to tell you, if you practice what I'm going to give you, you are not going to want those things anymore. And I met Herb Jeffries at the end of, I don't know, it was in Ananda Swamiji's life. And I didn't know him, except for what Swamiji told us, but all I can say, he came to one of Swamiji's talks in LA. He was very soft. And he loved Swamiji. He was very soft. He was like a child. And what Master said, obviously, came true. And so, put whatever it is up against Kriya. You're going to find it. Little by little, it's like old skin. It just sheds right off. And Guruji takes you and just takes you up into the light. God bless you all.